Hello everyone, welcome back to Believers CS Academy Bengaluru. This is the daily news analysis. Today, that is 22nd August 2025, we will discuss some 4 to 5 important articles from prelims, mains as well as interview perspective. So, the first article is from the editorial of the Hindu. It talks about justice is not about teaching someone a lesson. It is relevant for UPSC GS2, Polity and Governance, and we will discuss what is the background to this particular case and why the author said justice is not about teaching someone a lesson. Then we will discuss what justice is actually about. So, a Dalit man in Chhattisgarh was arrested for alleged public misbehavior, died in police custody just hours after medical check cleared him. Postmortem revealed 26 injuries, contradicting earlier medical report. Trial court convicted 4 police officers of murder. However, the High Court downgraded it to culpable homicide, arguing lack of intent but presence of knowledge of likely death. Importantly, the High Court remarked that officer's intention was to teach a lesson. Okay, so that is the irony here. The judiciary, which is to safeguard fundamental rights of citizenry, is supporting authority here. They said, despite the lock-up death of a person, a tribal person, there was no intent to kill them. The intent was to provide him justice, meaning teach him a lesson. So that is what the High Court has said, and it downgraded the charges of murder to culpable homicide. Next, problematic judicial language. The phrase teaching a lesson reflects a dangerous institutional mindset that rationalizes public brutality as deterrence rather than condemning it as a criminal. Next is, such language normalizes custodial torture, provides moral shelter to extra legal violences, and emboldens police officers to act as both judge as well as executioner. Next is caste coded violence and denial of SC/ST Act protections. The victim was a Dalit man, but both trial court and High Court refused to invoke the SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act, citing lack of explicit proof of caste motives. This reflects narrow interpretation of the Act, where only overt caste slurs or explicit intent is recognized. Such reasoning ignores structural caste power that often underlines custodial violence. The result? Systematic denial of justice to Dalits and Adivasis despite disproportionate targeting. So this narrow interpretation of SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act is resulting in failure to protect atrocities against SC/STs such as Adivasis and Dalits. India's custodial violence crisis. So this Chhattisgarh violence is not the first case of custodial violence in this year. There have been there have been hundreds of custodial deaths in India, highlighted in Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and Gujarat and Karnataka as well. So the custodial deaths are rampant, with Dalits, Adivasis, and poor as the most affected. Despite the Supreme Court guidelines in D.K. Basu, Ashok Johri, and Munshi Singh Gautam, enforcement remains weak and investigations based or biased. Lack of independent accountability mechanisms allow impunity to persist. Here is where the judicial responsibility and integrity should come. Judicial language shapes legal reasoning and policy outcomes. By framing custodial violence as discipline or to teach a lesson rather than a crime, courts risk legitimizing state brutality. Courts risk legitimizing custodial deaths. True justice requires reinforcing that custodial violence is criminal and not corrective. Robust applying of SC/ST Act wherever social power dynamics are evident. Creating independent oversight bodies to investigate custodial deaths and ensuring strict compliance with procedural safeguards. So that is the need of the hour. So in conclusion, the debate of justice and authoritarianism. Justice in a constitutional democracy is rooted in dignity, equality, and due process. The idea of teaching a lesson belongs to vigilance logic and not rule of law. Tolerating such reasoning erodes constitution and paves way for authoritarian policing. Courts must act as guardians of the rights and not enablers of state violence. Okay, so this is the first article, a very important article which provides important insights into custodial deaths and also caste dynamics, and also about retributive justice. Next, another editorial which talks about poll integrity and self-sabotage, parties and the Election Commission of India, relevant for GPS, UPSC GS2 polity and governance. So the context is flawed electoral rolls and public distrust. The issues is duplication, ghost voters, illegible entries, enable impersonation and multiple votings. The consequences is erodes public trust and undermines representative democracy. Responsibility is while Election Commission of India is primarily accountable, political parties are complicit in neglecting role of verification and monitoring. So the responsibility is of Election Commission of India, but the political parties are also complicit in this nature. Next is Election Commission's declining credibility. The 1990s era were considered as golden era of Election Commission, which were under the leadership of T.N. Seshan. ECI gained international stature by curbing malpractices, enforcing moral code of conduct, monitoring expenses, and introducing EPIC. Public survey shows ECI as one of India's most trusted institutions. But the current scenario, opacity, defensive stance, and failure to address discrepancies is eroding legacy and credibility. Next, parties and the hollowing of local organizations. Campaign style has shifted from labor intensive groundwork, that is, house visit, street meetings, to digital campaigning, such as social media, AI driven messaging, and phone calls. And what is the result of this shift in campaign? Illusion of connection via leaders, direct digital outreach, neglect of local cadre based linkages, and finally, centralization of party structure aided by professional consultants. What we are ignoring at the moment is we are ignoring this local cadre based linkages. The locals know the problems and issues of the locality. So though they should be at the head of the campaigns and not the national level leaders. Next, weak local units mean electoral roll errors remain unchecked. Booth level agents, that is a missed link. ECI introduced booth level agents to connect parties, voters, and election officers. Role is scrutinize draft rolls, assist with corrections, and prevent bogus enrollments. And the safeguards, restrictions on bulk applications, daily caption corrections, and mandatory verification by officials. But the problem is, in practice, some BLAs are inactive or complicit, which enables irregularities. Example, Mahadevapura constituency controversy in Karnataka. And finally, it raises questions about institutional bias, vigilance, and accountability. Next, this provides an opportunity for the political parties. What is the opportunity? The current controversy highlights the need for parties to revive grassroots structure. Example, in Kerala, the parties have become more vigilant in checking voter rolls, flagging duplicate entries. And the lesson is strong local organizations are essential for democracy beyond the elections. So, apart from Election Commission of India and the political parties and the national leaders, what is more important in this aspect is the local organizations which are very strong. Next, historical parallels and warnings. Post independence, weakness of local Congress units enabled collusion with elites and which resulted to subversion of land reforms. And today, weak local vigilance risks manipulating elections and hollowed institutions. So, if parties abandon local responsibility, they surrender democracy itself. So, it is the duty of not just Election Commission of India but also the political parties so that they reinforce trust in democracy. Conclusion, that is, integrity is at the stake. A robust framework exists, such as Election Commission of India rules, BLAs, and verification mechanisms. But when institutional actors such as ECI or parties pursue short-term partisan goals, they erode neutrality and destroy citizens' trust in the long term. Key insight is Democracy is not safeguarded by rules alone, but by self restraint, vigilance, and active local participation. So, the focus should be on self restraint, vigilance, and active local participation. Next, silence will only embolden the bully. China's pitch ahead of SEO summit. So, Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit will be happening very soon, and all the important leaders of different Shanghai Committee organization leaders are meeting each other. And recently, Chinese ambassador to India, Zhu Feihong, visited India, and he said he criticized USA for imposing 50% tariffs on Indian goods and called Washington a bully. And he said silence will only embolden the bully or it strengthens the bully. So it is a time to reply them back. He argued that the USA has long profited from free trade but is now weaponizing tariffs for bargaining. Specifically opposed US penalties on Russian oil imports and its wider tariff regime. Xu declared that China will stand firmly with India to uphold WTO-based multilateral trading principles. His statement signals a possible anti-US consensus at the upcoming SEO summit in Tianjin. Okay. Next, strategic context of SEO summit and China's messaging. The summit will host PM Modi, President Putin, Central Asian leaders, Pakistan, Iran, Belarus, which will be chaired by Xi Jinping of the China. Zhu's remarks in New Delhi at a think tank discussion were unusually direct in backing India against the US actions, suggesting SEO's positioning against Western protectionism. Key message is silence or compromises only emboldens a bully. So, this article also talks about India and China relations, a reset attempt. Xu highlighted a 10-month improvement since the Modi-Xi meeting in Kazan, which is on October 2024. More visas were issued and high-level engagements were resumed. Kailash Mansarovar Yatra was reopened. And the bilateral trade in 2025 crossed 75 billion and up from 10% from last year. He pointed to progress in broad border management talks, citing a 10-point consensus between NSA Ajit Doval and Wang Yi with an early harvest agreement expected. So he says that the last year has saw a reset in the engagement between India and China. Sensitive issues, that is Pakistan and terrorism. On terrorism, Xu said China, India, and Pakistan are all the victims of terrorism and must fight it jointly. This framing, equating India's concerns with Pakistan's position, is unlikely to sit well with New Delhi, which views China's support of Pakistan as problematic. We have to wait and see how will Delhi respond to this particular aspect of the comments. Next, it is from Text and Context of the Hindu, which you might not be having in the regular newspapers. So, very important article. That is why I decided to take up this article. That is gender disparity in organ donation in India. Recently, we discussed about World Organ Donation Day and how Angadan is the greatest dan of all time. Today, the NATO, that is National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization, has recently given a report according to which showcases a gender disparity in organ donations as well. So, what has NATO said? NATO, that is National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization, recently issued an advisory to states and hospitals with a 10-point plan. Key directive is women patients and relatives of the deceased donors should be given priority in organ allocation. Aim is to address gender disparity in organ transplantation and encourage more donations. NATO has also recommended permanent transplant coordinators in hospitals, development of organ retrieval centers in all trauma centers, training of emergency responders and ambulance staff to identify potential donors. What does the data say? According to the NATO data, which is published by BMJ, donors, that is the living organ donations, 63.8% of them were women. That is 36,038 out of 56,509. Women form majority of the living donors, often donating kidneys or parts of liver to male relatives. The recipients are the ones who receive organs. 69.8% were men. that is around 39,000 against 17,000 women. Women, despite being the primary donors, receive disproportionately fewer transplants. The graph goes like this. In donations, women are here, men are here. But whereas when it comes to receiving the donations, women are here, men are here. So which showcases a stark contrast in donations to recipients. So the key paradox is women donate the most but receive the least. So what are the laws that govern organ donation in India? It is covered under Transplantation of Human Organs Act 1994, which was amended in 2011 to include tissues as well. Sale and purchase of organs is illegal with strict penalties. Next is hospitals performing transplants must be registered with NOTO. Next, the status of organ donation in India. The global context is that 1,30,000 solid organ transplants annually worldwide, but meets only 10% of the need. Okay, meaning more than 1 crore 30,000 people or 13 lakh people are in need of organs, whereas 1,30,000 solid organ transplantations are happening. India's situation is every 1.8 lakh Indians develop end stage kidney disease. However, only 12,000 kidney transplants occur annually. So there is a demand and supply gap is massive in India. Again, if this is the demand, the supply is here. So there is a massive gap. A single donor can save up to 8 lives and benefit many more through tissue donation alone. So why is this disparity? Disparity with respect to men and women. It is mainly because of social norms and gender bias. Women often donate to husbands or sons, but when they need organ, their health is deprioritized. Economic and cultural barriers. Men are seen as breadwinners and women as caregivers, and they think women donating the organ to household member such as husband and brother or son or someone else is fair because they are the ones who are going to earn the bread. Next, awareness gap. That is, lack of family discussions on women's health needs is also a big issue. The conclusion says NATO directive is a corrective measures to ensure fairer allocation of organs. However, deep-rooted gender bias in families and medical decision making needs to be addressed as well. Finally, increasing awareness, encouraging cadaver donations, and enforcing gender-sensitive allocation can make organ transplant more equitable. Okay, very important article which showcases different gender disparity in a very curious manner. That is with respect to organ trafficking. Remember the data at least. You can use this data in your answers. Next is prelims pointers. INS Arindham, that is nuclear ballistic missile submarine. India is set to induct its third nuclear powered ballistic missile submarine, that is INS Aridhaman. It strengthens India's second stage nuclear capability under the credible minimum deterrence policy. What is INS Aridhaman? It is a second Arihant class SSBN developed under Advanced Technology Vessel Project at Shipbuilding Center in Visakhapatnam. It is around 7,000 tons in size, 120-meter long and 50-meter beam, 10-meter draft, and the crew is officers and sailors included is around 95. And the armament, it is capable of carrying K4 submarine launched ballistic missile with a range of 3,500 kilometers. Higher payload capacity than the INS Arihant, which is the first submarine nuclear-based submarine. Next, the technology, it has sonar systems, that is HUS, which is advanced sonar for detection and surveillance, and also has Panchendriya, which is a unified sonar and tactical control. Twin flank arrays for enhanced detection, and underwater communication systems for secure operations. So the strategic importance of this Aridhaman is completes nuclear triad, that is along with the land-based missiles and air-based missiles such as Agni and fighter aircrafts. SSBNs ensure survival second stage as well from the from the water now. Survivability. Nuclear submarines can remain submerged for months, difficult to detect, strengthening the deterrence. And regional security, it counters China's SSBM fleet, that is the Jin class, and Pakistan's ambitious Babur 3 SLCM. And the strategic autonomy. indigenous capability underlines India's self-reliance in defense as well. Next article for the current affairs, sorry, the prelims context is the Krishna River. So the current affairs is because of heavy rainfalls, it has triggered a flood-like situation across Krishna River basin. Krishna River is a, if this is India, Krishna River is the east flowing to Bay of Bengal, and the length is around 12,290 kilometer miles or 800 miles near Mahabaleshwar, Western Ghats in Maharashtra. This is the second longest river in the Deccan India or southern India after Godavari. It flows through Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and drains into Bay of Bengal at Hamsala Devi in Andhra Pradesh. Basin area is around 2,58,948 square kilometer, which is approximately 8% of India's geographical area. And the boundaries are in the north it is Balaghat range, in southeast it is Eastern Ghats, and the west it is Western Ghats. Major tributaries are left bank tributaries from Bhima, Tungabhadra, Musi in Karnataka, and Ghataprabha and Malaprabha again from Karnataka. The importance is it is important for irrigation and hydropower of the region, lifeline for agriculture in Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, and Andhra Pradesh. The dams are major projects include Nagarjuna Sagar, Srisailam, Alamatti, and Tungabhadra Dam. And the interstate water disputes is Krishna Water Disputes Tribunal, resolved sharing between riparian states, that is Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra, and and Goa. Cultural significance: sacred river associated with pilgrim states like Pandrapur and Vijayawada, and also Srisailam. So this ends our discussion for the day. I discussed all the articles which are relevant for today. So what are the points which I told you and what are the data which I told you? Make sure that you note down those data in your dedicated GS 123 book. So if you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, click on the bell icon and also share with your friends. And with this, I will be ending the video. Jai Hind, Jai Karnataka.